Okay. Sounds good. Well, is anyone actually in the room yet, or do they need the link first? I'll update on X as well.
So you want to say it's working now? Let's see.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and kick it off. For those who have been patiently waiting the last 15 minutes or so, thanks for sticking with us. I know we've given you a few links, but we finally sorted it out, and we have a ton to cover after a pretty exciting week for those who have been patiently waiting for crypto to finally do something. And it has rewarded your patience quite well, with Bitcoin reaching well above 95K for the first time, not just since the beginning of the month before the crash began, but since February 24th. Actually, over 2 months ago was the last time we saw numbers this good for the top market cap asset in crypto. Now, of course, we go down to altcoins and they're all over the place. Ethereum is right there with Bitcoin, up a little over 11% over the past week. We have SWI as one of the big stories of the week, up 72%. Of course, we have the official Trump meme coin up 71% as well, showing how much of this volatility and the pump is related to the current presidential situation going on. We'll just leave it at that. Of course, the tariff situation is the thing that put a big halt on the rally that we were hoping to see. But it's better late than never. And a lot of people now are trying to FOMO back in, as we'll see as we look through the data and show exactly what the sentiment reaction is, as well as what the institutionals are doing right now and the whales. and it's mostly pretty good news. Quite a bit of FOMO, we will say that. And typically when we see very, very high sentiment, it can lead to some surprise turnarounds or some halting of rallies. But in this case, there seems to be a lot of news going into the weekend. And remember, there are still a lot of people who are on the sidelines because of the tariffs and the uncertainty of it. And that could allow a rally to continue if the institutional traders out there want it to. So it's a very interesting time right now. I'm here with Maxim, our CEO and founder right now. Maxim, how is everything? And how's the week been for you in terms of market monitoring? Have you noticed anything in particular?
I think I will, hi everyone. Today I will go with camera. Max, you can switch it on. Yeah. I think to make it more personal. And back to what you asked, Brian. Will probably come. There are good things on, especially on Bitcoin level. Once we go to on-chain metrics, quite cool one. Of course, excitement on Twitter. As I shared yesterday on my also Twitter, this is not exactly what you like to see when immediately people come out and start projecting 150,000, 180,000 Bitcoin price. Yeah, so typically it means that with some time nothing will happen, but we'll see. Indeed, looks better, much better this week.
Yeah, it's sorry to cut you off. Feel free to continue if you had more.
No.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a really interesting time right now because effectively the tariffs have not really changed too much. We've seen different evolutions of it. We've seen a worldwide tariff announcement be kind of dialed back a little bit and then refocused toward the China versus U.S. tariff situation more than anything right now. There's real information. There's kind of misinformation coming out, whether it's intentional or not. Some coming directly from Trump, some coming from the media. And where we're at now is there is still a very concerning tariff situation between two of the largest economies in the world, China and the U.S. They do not seem to like each other, and they don't want exports and imports to be cheap at all for the people. And that does have an impact on the economy. But at least over the past week, it hasn't really affected the economy. In fact, the last 2 weeks, we've seen quite a rebound since the middle of the month.
Yeah, this is we should always separate, let's say, fundamental, long-term, social, political, whatever changes coming, which are now irreversible. It's very clear that we're going to confrontation one way or another. That U.S. is trying, and it's a good attempt. We'll see how it works to change the way it's operating. Like you cannot live for all the time and adapt. And actually, the economy, if it will be a private company, would be broke already a long time ago. But
right.
At the country level, it works. Well, it's not only U.S. phenomenon; it's many countries. So this going inwards and instead of cooperation and good condition for each other working together, it's obviously separating. So midterm, maybe long term, there is the way around it. It's markets will eventually keep going lower, yeah. Unless there is devaluation of our fiat currencies, okay, then nominal is go up, but actually it's going down. So it's a clear process. But this week, 1, 2 weeks, or even months going up and down, it's correlated. It's the only way we can kind of estimate. It's a crowd or majority market behavior and expectation. There we can play around. Yeah, but this is could be for some time completely irrational, like Tesla. Yeah, terrible sales, and it just goes up. This is how it usually. Actually, it's not normal. It's a normal how market works. Everyone expects it to go down, and it goes up. And then there will be, if now it's growing, typically I would expect some kind of good narrative emerge or explain why is it good, and then we can turn down. It just keeps repeating. I don't know if anyone forgets, but if you're long enough in the market, this is how it works 90% of the time. You expect something, and there is enough narrative, stories, beliefs, and it just does. Market is doing opposite because it's already pricing what will happen in the future. Yeah. So whatever is now is already priced in. So it turns around.
Yeah.
All tariffs for the moment were priced in, pushed enough. I guess U.S. president and his team say, okay, we need to slow down a moment. Yeah. Otherwise we'll all get broke. All his rich friends, I don't know. Say, let's pull back a little bit. Yeah. The conspiracy theory, let us sell our stocks and then it can go down. No, I'm joking. I don't think this is how it works. But they obviously kind of try to slow down, but nothing will change in the long term.
Yeah. No, many legitimately believe what you're saying. And I'm entirely with you, Maxim. There are certainly pockets of the internet that truly believe that every day is a day of new misinformation to kind of sway the public to do what the president wants or what China wants. And as a result, they all profit together. It could be a giant conspiracy where the U.S. and China are laughing on the phone and just waiting for the right time to announce an agreement that's already, secretly been passed a month ago. You never know.
Yeah, of course, there are people who believe in very crazy theories.
Yeah.
It's not like this. They're obviously in confrontation.
They are.
And it's and there is a reason I can understand fundamentally. Yeah. If even for economy it's bad, what Trump and team is doing, obviously, but maybe they have no choice. They're looking to, okay, can we really be independent in case conflict is coming and we count on us? And then say, oh, actually we cannot. So they can sacrifice some level of economy just to be independent in case conflict is coming. So sometimes you have no choice. I mean, both options are bad. And just Trump personality, his personality is a kind of make it exaggerate everything. Mm-hmm. He's more like, he should be like a showman or actor. Yeah, should have continued after this movie in Home Alone. Yeah, this is how he acts. And on the level of business and presidency, it's typically should be like more reasonable. But okay, we have what we have. Now we have also performance. Okay, show.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's regardless of your political take, everyone, there is undoubtedly a massive level of responsibility when you're the president of the United States, and he's fully aware of that, as is his House and his Senate and his inner circle of people who are making these decisions. And these tariffs are very real. They are in effect, and the data shows that there has been some major differences in the revenue coming in and out of the U.S. At least. I don't live in China, so I don't know as much about the data coming in there. But these are true tariffs that have impacted the economy and have not changed. Yes, they've been reduced for many countries that initially looked like they were going to have massive changes to make with the U.S., but those still are in effect too. 10% baseline for every country out there is a difference from what it used to be, and 25% for Mexico and Canada, I believe, still. And China is, of course, the main issue. And when it's two of the top 4 economies in the world, that's going to have major impacts on how the entire world is able to perform economically. And the reason this all matters is because cryptocurrency is, at least in theory, still very closely correlated with the economy. BlackRock, of course, is coming out and doing their best to give the impression that crypto has decoupled. This is something that they've been saying across the media. Just earlier today on CNBC, Jay Jacobs came out and said that crypto and Bitcoin is decoupled from tech stocks. Well, we've heard this story many times over the last 3 years, and there are often, a week or two time stretches where we see that to be the case before they start correlating once again. keep in mind that BlackRock has an incentive to say this because they've just added 3,500 Bitcoin earlier or in the past 24 hours and 12,500 Bitcoin in the past 3 days, as we can see from this chart here. So yes, just keep in mind that when you're getting news from sources that have a very transparent incentive to make Bitcoin go a certain way, you need to take that with a grain of salt. Now, if we actually look at the price changes, we do see a difference in how Bitcoin and the stock markets are behaving, especially Bitcoin and gold, which is interesting, going opposite directions, digital gold versus gold, if you believe in that theory. So the question is, is this the sign that we are in crypto going a completely different direction from the economy now? My theory is no. We may see it for a week or so, especially if there's enough FOMO and enough, propaganda from some of these large institutions. But we need to see the S&P 500 be able to go up over the next few weeks in order to see that Bitcoin 100K breach again that we were enjoying back in January. So just keep in mind that when you see the word decoupling being spammed across social media, as we saw, about 3 weeks ago, after tariffs were announced and crypto was talking about how they were immune and they weren't going to be affected. When that happened, those people who were FOMOing into crypto, thinking it was the nice escape from the economic uncertainty, they got punished and ended up plummeting right along with the S&P 500, as we can see here. So, Maxim, that's kind of my take. I want to let you speak a little more, especially if there's anything you'd like to add.
We were discussing it privately. This mystical Elliott waves, it was for me like top gold was built in top. Difficult always to say precisely, and I was expecting more publicity, but maybe it was enough. It's a very rational story, of course. In an upcoming crisis or fear of big conflict, people go where to gold and Swiss francs. Now this fear is relieved. Okay, this decreased. Yeah, we'll see if if gold really builds the ultimate top. Who knows? Maybe there is something left still. But it's close to the top. Yeah, it's in my opinion. Maybe we're also incentivized. Like the BlackRock, we always want our crypto to prosper. So I think it's time to take over this quality of wealth preservation in the time of conflicts, which makes some sense. With gold, you cannot travel around. Or if you need to urgently move from one country to another, what can you do with gold? Nothing. Or if government wants to take it away from you, and the government did it, actually, I think in all major countries, and they can do it again. So with cryptos, of course, they can try to enforce you, but you can always escape. Yeah, so it's, I hope if the next wave of conflict or separation between nations comes, crypto will take over the role of gold. Haven't happened yet, but let's hope it will happen.
Yeah, gold has made a lower low today. We're talking about a very recent support level, but it got to about 3,300 a couple days ago, and it's broken below that now. So that's a slightly concerning sign. But I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. I still think gold could make a run for it. It really depends on the real world news. Should the concerns that were so present in the first half of the month be gone now? That's a very tough question. The truth of the matter is nothing has really changed other than time passing and people saying maybe the tariffs aren't such a big deal now. And we've seen people kind of forget about big news before and start mini rallies only to be punished. We saw that a little bit during the initial months of COVID, where people were buying right after the announcement hit in March 2020, and then they got punished again in April before the ultimate bottom in April, and then it just went on a massive rally. I could see something like that happening this time around, where we get this huge FOMO, and we'll go over sentiment shortly. I know we're talking a lot about the real world news, but we could see a lot of FOMO and then another punishment over the next week, followed by um, a bigger rally after people really start to throw the white flag and say, I'm just going to take my profits now. I don't, know what to do with crypto anymore. These tariffs are too scary. And then, suddenly Trump says, oh, tariffs are gone. And we go to 120K or something. So we'll see how it goes. But, the BlackRock news is interesting. Here, I wanted to point out that Brian Krasenstein talked about how Trump claimed multiple times he's talking to China about tariffs, but China just put out a statement saying they're not having any talks with the U.S. and that the U.S. should stop creating confusion. Now, this has gone pretty viral. I mean, this is a lot of views for a short period of time. I wouldn't be surprised if other big media sources really latch onto this and say like, hey guys, whatever you're hearing from Trump is not the truth. That can cease the rally pretty quickly. But for now, people don't seem to care about this report. I find this to be a pretty big deal. If, the person, one side of the equation is saying we're doing all this talking right now, and the other side is saying we haven't even been speaking, that's a big deal. It could be, one side saying we're not close to a deal, but yes, we have been talking. That would be one thing. But China is saying we haven't even been talking. So that's odd. But anyways, there are people who are following the tariff situation very closely. I recommend just following as much news as you can about the latest details as they unfold. But as we close out April, it doesn't look like we're close to anything changing, at least based on what we know now. Now, another thing I wanted to show, guys, credit to our Sandbase team and sentiment team who have put together some great sand queries as of late. One of the things that I've been watching a lot here, Maxim, is the BTC inflows and outflows as far as the top ETFs go. And we can see the very obvious correlation here going all the way back to before Trump was elected here in October, huge inflows leading to a big rise. And then whenever there are these outflows, that's when we tend to retrace. Now that we have Bitcoin's price correlated with these outflows and inflows, look at how the outflows really were piling up in February as we retraced heavily, got below 80K.
Sorry for interrupting, but I always see this kind of data not as leading, but more like indicating level of confidence or fear, or let's say concerns. There could be, of course, it like not 100% of the time, but in general, when you see like we see now, price pumping up and inflows, could be like it was in the past, some kind of sign of upcoming top. Like people think, especially if it's supported on an on-chain matrix accumulation of smaller wallets, we will see. Yesterday I checked, it was actually declining, so I said, okay, not bad. But if at some point of time this increase of inflow coming with increasing price, supported especially by on-chain small wallet accumulation, wow, this is a strong sign of tops. So I'd like to see it, and should be correlated. Should be correlated.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a bit of like a justifier as to why prices went up and down. And this is different than retail FOMO and FUD, because this is very, very big money that is mostly being controlled by institutions. So when they're putting in a lot of money, that's going to put up prices. And when they're taking it out, it's going to dump prices. And we've seen clear evidence of that now that we have Bitcoin's price correlated with the inflows and outflows. I mean, the last 5 full days of data we have are just massive, especially the 21st and 22nd, where we had over $881 million both days. So the question is, can we go all the way to 100K? Is the inflow on Friday going to be another one of these big days? If it is, we may see that before the end of the month. But maybe what we can do now is transition into what the retailers are thinking, because as we alluded to, there is a ton of FOMO going on right now. And one of my favorite things to check on is just the sheer amount of high prices being called out versus low prices in regards to Bitcoin. Overwhelmingly, really over the last 24 hours, we've seen a huge surge in calls for 100K or above, and not a lot of calls for prices below 70K. So right here, they're about even. That's when you see the red and blue matching. I know it shows red, but that basically means blue is the same because you don't see the blue at all. It's being hidden by the red. But all of a sudden right here, as we rise, this is like a 2-to-1 ratio, almost a 3-to-1 ratio of red versus blue, red being the high numbers. Still higher here, very much higher here, about a 2-to-1 ratio here. And this is like almost a 4-to-1 ratio of high prices versus low prices right now. So clearly the predictions are pouring in for at least 100K plus, if not new all-time highs for Bitcoin in our near future. It's an interesting situation we're in because institutions are clearly pumping prices through ETFs. We know that because of the data we have. But retailers are also FOMOing in right now, which means one of them has to give soon. And for that, we have other data that we can look at, one being the retail positive versus negative sentiment, which is very, very, very FOMO centric right now. Almost 2-to-1 ratio of positive versus negative comments. And then we can also go ahead.
No, it's indeed quite high, especially when you see it. That's why I like to watch on these visuals directly. You can always relate previous. Oh, by the way, can you come back to the previous chart? Let's see. Last time we built in around January top. How far did we go?
Good point. So if we go back.
Yeah, so it's 3 months. The last top was in January. Oh, no, it's more than 3 months already. Okay.
I'll just go to the beginning of the year. So January 1st and on, this was a huge FOMO spike here, which was a couple days before the top.
Yeah.
And then we saw another FOMO spike. This was 3 days before Trump was inaugurated.
How it looks here, there is a FOMO, it probably connected with some good announcement on everything, excitement. But in both cases, price was able to push a bit higher, even though on lower sentiment. Okay, right. Let's give it a chance. If even at the moment, the values or reading what we see in the chart, it's even higher than January. My goodness. Many people have been waiting for it so long time. Finally, green candles. Very exciting. Such exciting. Much candles, yeah.
Yeah, you can especially see how the FOMO. So after there was like a minor retrace after Trump was inaugurated, we saw like a little bit of a bounce. And that's where you see the most FOMO because everyone's like, all right, I caught the dip. Now it's time to see 120K or 150K. And that's where they really got punished right here. And of course, you see the opposite, you know, when everyone got extremely pessimistic at the end of February and at the second week of March here. And even this, you know, a few days after the tariff announcements on April 6th, these were the bottoms. These were the perfect times you could have bought in while the sentiment was in the dumps. But right now, this is scary. This is extreme FOMO that we really haven't seen since the very beginning of the year when we were first crossing above 100K. So I'd be a little bit cautious. It doesn't mean we can't climb a little more. This isn't a precise indicator that's going to exactly tell you when to buy and sell, but it tends to get things right more often than not. And I'd be a little worried about this when it's combined with the this chart showing so much higher red than blue right now in terms of high versus low prices. But the other thing I wanted to show was the huge level of institutional buying. So this line in particular, Maxim, 10 to 10,000 BTC wallets, they've gone on quite a rampage here over just the past week. especially since what, the 15th or so. Over 9 full days, they've added 32.8K more BTC. So that's a little over 3,000 BTC per day for each of the past 9 days. So that's a pretty big jump here. And if we went back about 5 weeks or so, 81,000 BTC accumulated. That's just a very high number from a line that has notoriously correlated quite a bit with prices. You can see how they dumped during the 3rd week of February, and then prices went down too. They accumulated again as prices were dumping. I understand this was related to the tariffs and stuff, but especially this aggressive jump here, that was a sign that we probably were going to see some higher levels. And this kind of reflects what we're seeing with the ETF inflows too, just more and more accumulation, while retailers have been on the sidelines in fear of, further tariff consequences. So as the title of this video shows, there's some retailers that are definitely kicking themselves for dropping out during the initial week of tariff announcements because they were so worried this would be a multiple month thing.
Bitcoin, yes, it will be mostly the case. Most retailers seems like they're now excited about all these meme coins. You saw the fart coin and company, now the Trump too. This is where retailers try to play the game, as it's understandably, it's also, of course, very risky, but more rewarding. For Bitcoin, I don't even talk about our poor Ethereum. To grow 20% is quite a task. And here, easily. 50% one day. Okay, not one day, few days. Actually, my favorite, I was recently Curve. If we count it, I was quite surprised. Didn't check it long time. It grows. It grew 50% on a quite healthy matrix when I saw it. Not bad. Yeah. So what is this? Yeah, Memecoin. Okay, yeah. So what do we see?
Yeah, I was just going to pull this up as you were mentioning meme coins. So we clearly see meme coin volume. This is just trading volume of the top 6 meme coins versus the top 6 layer 1 coins. You
so
see how
it's
really,
I want to say.
Yeah, there's just a huge surge in meme coin volume once again. And we should see that match in terms of social volume here too, which I have on a separate chart.
You have nice chart layout.
Thanks, my friend.
Yeah.
So this one here, we see, especially a few days ago after we got that initial jump to about 93K, meme coins just started to go off. They all dropped a little bit here. Let me try to adjust because this is on a daily level. If I change them all to 4 hours, we'll just zoom in a little bit here. Yeah, meme coin social volume is kind of average right now, but the trading volume is the big story because meme coin trading volume has really soared all of a sudden as people are starting to FOMO in to many of the big projects out there. We can also look at the meme coin watch list right here, which is up 21%, by the way, in the past week, just all of the meme coins together.
So release.
Yeah. Let's take a look at just the social volume. Yeah, Shiba Inu is going off right now, just in the past day. Just a moment for prices to change. Pepe is up a lot. So, official Trump social volume, if this is correct, Maxim, up over 6,300% over the past week.
Because the moment he announced about top 200 holders invited to dinner, yesterday on our social trends, I think it was the leading topic.
Wow. Yeah, I missed it because I was away, but that's huge news. No wonder.
Yeah, no wonder. Well, there is some utility, or supposed to be utility. Trump can change his mind.
Yeah, you never know.
I read some researchers who top 200, some interesting discoveries, but I think there will be more coming. Yeah.
Right. I was just checking out the overall price changes over the past week. Look at the axis here. This is 0 to 350%. So just scrolling down to the right, I mean, here's
Maybe people
official
make
Trump, 76%. Nero Ethereum up over 300% over the past week. Zero, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Zerbro up 256% in the past week. Mother Iggy up 224%. Just massive gains all around. Very few assets
not
have actually declined.
for
Say it again.
the
Sorry,
things
Maxim.
too serious, not for us, but I mean, it's tells you where retail is, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So tons and tons of market cap gains for the meme coiners that took a chance as prices have really risen over the past couple of weeks. Volume, I mean, this tells a big story. Volume is up 169% on the meme coin watch list, with market caps overall up 21%. These are giant numbers. So in essence, just another piece of evidence that FOMO has been really increasing over the past week, if not the past couple of weeks, as crypto has rebounded. And we've seen, as we showed in January, right before the all-time high top, when you see a lot of meme coins starting to trend, getting way more attention, getting more trading volume, we often see market-wide tops. Again, we don't give investment advice here, but we do remind you of what we have seen historically when these kinds of setups occur. And usually it's a bit of a concern when you see these signs of retail getting very greedy overall toward Bitcoin, getting more and more interested in the speculative assets that don't have a lot of development activity out there, if any, like meme coins. So, be weary. I know we have more to cover during the show, but I just wanted to pause and mention that this is exciting if you've been in meme coins yourself, but be a little bit concerned when you see this trend in the markets move toward the greedy signals out there. Okay, so we talked about some sentiment. While I'm here, Maxim, we can check out the World Liberty Financial wallet.
Yeah.
I think this is the other smaller one. Give me one moment. I just had the link up for it. Just need to find the address once again. It is right here. Okay, so the World Liberty Financial wallet that's associated with Trump and his family currently holds 81 million or $81.6 million. I'm going to add on the top 3 held assets right now. We can even do top 4. 2 of those are stable coins. 2 of those are traditional cryptocurrencies taking off price. And here's where we stand. So really not much changing. The last real notable move was the accumulation of tons and tons of USD coin right after tariffs were announced, which showed that maybe they had a plan to buy more as markets dumped. But at least with the top 3 assets, not much has changed there. Wrapped Bitcoin stays the same. Ethereum stays the same. Moving a little bit down the line, if we go to staked Ethereum, White Rock, Move, Ondo, take off price for all of these. Yeah, there's actually been some accumulation of what looks like this wrapped price. We don't need that. Okay. So this gold line here, it's price also. I don't know why price comes back on when I add more assets. No, I mean, there's nothing. They've all kind of stayed flat here. The top 8 assets are all the same. So nothing changing there. That's actually, I'd call it good news. It means that they don't expect anything bad to happen with crypto anytime soon. They're holding strong. and no dumping whatsoever. Going on to a few of the on-chain metrics for Bitcoin, we're still seeing, let me refresh here, we're still seeing a bit of a decline in transaction volume. And it looks pretty similar with active addresses and circulation network growth. These are all kind of declining over the long term. MVRV, so we talked about this last week. There wasn't really much in either direction for average traders. That's changed now. We've seen that the 30-day average wallets are now up about 10% on average. Wallets active in the past year are up about 12% on average. So we're back in a bit of a danger zone once again. Not
Soon.
extreme danger. Yeah, go ahead.
Tempted to take profit, so maybe already is.
Yeah. So that's one of the big red flags right now is average retailers out there, or wallets in general, are up quite a bit of money. And the higher above zero they get, the more concerned we need to be that a correction will take place to get us back to the true zero-sum game that Bitcoin and all coins are. So a lot of profit going on right now. Funding rates, always interesting to check out. We are seeing some minor levels of shorting going on as of late. I'll take off the others. BitMEX, yeah, both BitMEX and Binance are showing a little bit of shorting. I'll zoom in a little so you can see it better. So these red bars here indicate there's actually more shorts than longs right now. Shorts are paying longs in order to bet against the price of Bitcoin right now. So especially on this latest run, I can make the price a little more granular. There we go. So you can see as prices rebound, these shorts really started to become prominent. And that's the case on both Binance and BitMEX, more so on Binance. But that could be a good thing. That can mean that if there's a little more liquidations going on, prices could use those short liquidations as rocket fuel to move just a bit higher. And we can even look at total open interest. I'll just add it to the same chart here. It should be rising quite a bit. Not that much, but a little bit. So we're back up to about $27.36 billion worth of total open interest. We were as high as 29, almost 30 billion before the, it doesn't look like much happened. It just looked like a lot of positions closed, probably due to this short bar here. So you can see a lot of people shorted, and then it continued to go up, and that closed a bunch of total open interest. But as of now, it's starting to go back up. It's significantly higher than where it was just a couple of weeks ago. So that's another bit of a red flag. You don't want to see total open interest get too high because they're prone to get liquidated. Whale transactions, going back to 3 months again. Pretty typical. We did see a bit of a spike here on the 22nd and 23rd. That's likely the accumulation we were looking at earlier, with institutional wallets really starting to add on to their bags. Also, check this out, Maxim. Huge spike in the ratio of on-chain transaction volume and profit to loss. So every transaction that's going on the Bitcoin network, about 3.35 of them are in profit versus every one that's at a loss. So
maybe it's connected, so quite substantial compared to the previous week's net realized profit losses. It's been quite, and actually exactly on these two spikes which you see on this chart.
Right. Yeah, I mean, typically we don't want to see really high spikes because they'll lead to tops like we saw here. I made it a different color so it's easier to see, but most times when you see big profits, it's people pushing down prices thereafter. And you want to see really low ones like this. If you see the top left of my screen on April 5th, there were 3 people taking a loss on their transactions versus everyone taking a profit. Those are usually good bottom indicators. So now we're seeing the opposite, and this is the largest one we've seen. It might even be the largest one of the year right now. Yep, largest since November 20th. And you can see when that happened on November 20th, there was a big retrace right afterwards. So don't be surprised if all of this profit transacting leads to a short-term retrace. Also this, Maxim, mean dollar invested age moving back down again over the past 4 days or so.
Yeah, it's all connected. You see, if altcoins moved, which you showed in the profit, it will decrease mean dollar invested age as well, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, so obviously we are rooting for this line to go down if we're bullish, because normally dormant tokens, when they move back into circulation, will lead to increased utility overall, increased prices. It's kind of a lagging indicator that validates that we're in a bull run. You know, obviously 4 days of a dip is not going to say much, but it's at least a good sign that we might have turned a corner from this large retrace that we saw. I still think short term we're in a bit of trouble due to all of the retail FOMO, but this could be a good longer term indicator once all the dust starts to settle and hopefully some of the tariff stuff starts to get clarified. And then one of your favorite metrics, Maxim, the network realized profit, huge spike today.
Yeah, well, very strong, very strong. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't see this one yet. I see the previous two. Okay, well, we need to give some space for prices going up, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the rule of thumb with this metric. If you see prices rising along with, you know, some of these big spikes like we saw back in November, that can be a validator that the momentum will continue a bit longer.
Yeah, actually, but
so
even though when you show you were just showing on a chart, it does not remove volatility. As a matter of fact, it can bring even more. But generally, it's a good sign as long as we have this big spikes. So market in a healthy state, there are enough people concerned about its future. So it's a good, yeah. But when you were showing, was it November? Yeah, I think 24th of November, market can go down. I don't know how much it went, 10%?
Yeah, it was a minor one, about 7%.
7 or 10%, it can go. Yeah. Just if we see this, it's good. It's good. We should give it more space. Yeah. Eventually, but timing is the most difficult part. Yeah.
Of course. And we see that the supply in exchanges has really plummeted too, down to about 7.26% of BTC on exchanges right now. And just based on the wallets that we cover, if you go back 6 months, we have seen a drop of just about 20% of the amount of Bitcoin that was on exchanges now in cold wallets, or at least away from the known exchange wallets that we have. So massive level of BTC moving away from exchanges is usually a sign of confidence and a good sign that we're at least going to be limited on the amount of future sell-offs going on. So good long-term indicator. I wouldn't call it much of a short-term indicator at all, though. We already talked about social dominance being kind of neutral for layer ones because so much is going into meme coins at the moment. So no surprise there. We can see weighted sentiment pretty positive. I don't use weighted sentiment so much anymore, but it's still good to check in on it because it's a nice combination of social volume as well as the ratio of positive versus negative commentary. RSI also very high. This is the highest we've seen the RSI for those technical analysis traders out there since November 23rd. So this is about a 5-month high in RSI. Anything above 50 is a bit overheated. Anything below is a bit of an opportunity. So be a little cautious about the fact that we've seen the RSI climb this high this fast. Total amount of holders also growing, as you would expect, with prices rebounding the way they have, especially since that initial week of tariffs. Since about April 7th, past 18 days, we've seen a growth of 231,000 more non-empty wallets on the BTC network. And yesterday was an all-time high of 55.06 million non-empty wallets on the network. So clearly retail is feeling pretty confident once again, and they have not shown signs of slowing down. Ideally, we want them to be slowing down when retail tends to sell off and donate their coins to the patient or more patient whales and sharks. That is good for the long term of crypto. So this is a bit of a negative for the mid and long term right now. So that's about it as far as Bitcoin on-chain data and a few social pieces of data as well. I also want to do a quick check on the alpha narratives. I'm going to make sure everything is hard refreshed here. We have, as of late, whales making a big appearance. And it looks like it's, if I highlight it here and show on the left, whales are making significant purchases of various cryptocurrencies such as ETH, Bitcoin, Solana, and Loose. Institutional investors like Fidelity and Abraxas. Okay, thanks, Balresh. Fidelity and Abraxas are investing large sums in ETH and Bitcoin. Speculation on the intentions of whales and institutional investors in the market are a hot topic right now. There's also an increase in new whales accumulating, Bitcoin specifically. Nancy Pelosi's investment in Tempest AI calls, that's interesting. And there's activity of dormant whales re-entering the market and making large purchases. Overall sentiment toward altcoin season and the potential for Ethereum to start pumping again. That's interesting as well. This looks like a lot of FOMO related to whale activity right now. And for the most part, the narrative is correct based on our data. Key stakeholders are accumulating right now, which should be a good sign. The problem is we don't want retail in large numbers trying to match what whales do, or else it creates a top and will send prices back down so that whales can just accumulate more after the retails jump out feeling like they've been tricked. That tends to be what happens when this occurs. I'm seeing a few other mid-tier spikes. This isn't much, but gold is still getting a little bit of attention. I'm pretty sure there's some bearish sentiment related to gold now that it's retraced a bit and going the opposite direction of Bitcoin's rally right now. I also see a bit of a rise in Zora. I don't know if you've heard much about Zora, Maxim, but it's done just enough to get on the Alpha Narratives tab.
It was a lot, really, the last 3 days. Okay, not yesterday, but before. Yeah. Actually, yesterday was still 3 days. I saw it everywhere. Yeah, it was a very big topic. I think somehow the airdrop or something connected was questionable. To say it politely.
It looks like there was a big launch of the Zora network on BitGet Global and their launch pool. And airdrops, as you said, some are speculating it could open at over $2 billion.
I was saying that it's overvalued. You shouldn't start on these valuations. Yeah, there was a lot of talks.
Let's check that out, assuming we have Zora on the platform already. We do. If we go to the sentiment related to it, let's see what pops up right now. No price data yet, but that's okay. This is still loading. For some reason, it's the ratio will not load, but we do still see the positive versus negative sentiment. You can see how much it exploded here in mid-April, and it's gotten just a massive level of positive comments versus negative comments. I'm going to presume that prices have gone up quite a bit, and that's why it's continuing to get the level of conversation it has. One other thing we can check on is the level of discussions straight on our social trends page. So if we look up Zora, take off social dominance, take that off. Yeah, it's been pretty neutral. Nothing too special. It really maxed out on April 23rd.
Yes, that was of discussions. Yeah, exactly 2 days ago. Yeah. I saw it everywhere on all my channels. I mean, I'm into specific crypto channels. Yeah.
Yeah, mostly Telegram and X.
Of course, it's a hindsight. A level of dramatic discussion could have been points that we're still kind of coming up from bottom, so there is more bullish potential. People criticizing many things what they did, not feeling excited. Yeah, I mean, where I was reading. So
yeah,
that's okay, good lesson. Okay.
The other thing we can check on is the latest trending coins out there.
Right, so
making sure it's up to date.
Know that competition internal counter trading will open quite a few SUI shorts. We'll see how it works.
Yeah, I mean, SUI, as we saw on the screener here, is one of the big gainers of the week, up 72%. So that's
game, but maybe if it works and our timing is good, might get very nice shorts on it. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the rule of thumb with the trending tokens many times. If there is a pumping token, especially one that's decoupled from most of the other altcoins, as SUI has, generally there's about a negative 14% drop over the next 2 weeks, if I'm remembering the number correctly. Doesn't mean it's a guarantee, but be a little concerned when you see something like this from a pumping coin.
There's a lot of talk.
Number one spot.
Sometimes some pumping, but no many talks or no clear narrative. But when it combines price and people explaining why is it so high, that's already getting to the top. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the bullish summary, the explanation from people who are bullish about SUI. And when people are bullish, when people are bullish just because of the price going up, that's a bit of a concern, right? There needs to be something more technological advancements. That would be good, like if it's really doing something right now that it wasn't doing a month ago, that could be a very good sign. Anticipation surrounding upcoming features like Exportal MasterCard, those are the kinds of things that make sense for why you can be bullish about something long term. But if you're just bullish about a coin because its price has gone up, that's the opposite of how markets work. You should be more bearish of coins that have gone up just because they went up. You should be only bullish about something that has already gone up so much if it's doing something new or unique or developing something innovative or partnering with a huge institution. Those are the things that make coins continue to go up long term. But beware of coins that are seeing a big bullish sentiment with the primary reason being because prices have gone up already. That means you're too late most of the time. So I won't predict anything for SUI, but I will advise caution when you see a pumping coin in the top spot of trending coins. And I'm sure Maxim agrees. Cetus up here at number 2 also has been pumping quite a bit. I mean, all of these coins have been pumping, but the ones that have been particularly high, like SUI, those are the ones you need to be the most wary of when they're trending in the top 3. Pengu, another meme coin, has had a huge week. AMP, NFT, which I still think is a little bit of noise just related to the word NFT, so I'd disregard that one. BSW, Bitcoin here at number 7, so it's getting a significant increase in discussion. Popcat, another meme coin in it, and USDC, a stable coin in the top 10. Just checking to see if there's anything special. Stablecoin swaps and yield generation. Users are exploring options for converting USDC across different blockchains. Yeah, it just looks like there's an increased interest in swapping USDC across blockchains right now and being able to utilize it for as many purposes as possible and DeFi and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the top 10 in trending coins right now. In terms of trending words, degens is the #1 word. That's funny.
Today, difficult.
Yeah.
Story. I think we're launching next week trending stories. Actually already finished, but just making some final touch. So will be interesting next Friday whenever we come out to discuss already like this new feature.
Yeah, I'm very excited to check that out and show it to the audience. But stay tuned for a new feature that will more expansively explain what the stories of the week are. And it'll be a great new addition to help guide these weekly streams that Maxim and I do. So look out for that. That's about all I have for today. I know we're pretty much at the 1 hour mark now, but going into the weekend, Maxim, what are you going to be looking for, and what do you think the community should?
Just expect some volatility. Is it now when we reach to the stage when correction can take any day, so easily 7 to 10% down is normal. But what we saw today on the Bitcoin level looks good. We'll need to see when this correction comes, what the structure will emerge. Does it allow further growth? But this we'll discuss probably next week. So now it has to be careful, Zora signs showing, looks not bad. It's just this meme coins and everything pumping. It's typical condition to experience some unexpected dump.
Absolutely. So proceed with caution. I totally agree with Maxim on this one. It's looking a bit dicey due to the level of pump that we've seen. Congratulations to those who had been buying the dip over the past few weeks here, as tariffs were the primary topic of conversation. But where we are now, as we close out the month, there needs to be some concern based on what we usually see in these kinds of conditions.
Guys,
if you see it, go ahead.
Before getting close and maybe some leaf, I saw the request for some coins, so let's do it next time. Actually, I like to be prepared, because most of the coins now, when we have thousands of them, it's like doesn't tell anything to us, most of the coins. So really, like come over to our Discord, publish in general channel marketing or market discussion what you want to be discussed. Just come 1 day in advance, then we can prepare, we can research our social graph database, can collect some data. Because unless it's a very known coin, I don't know this coin too. It seems to be not so fun, but it will be not so deep, our research, if we do it now ad hoc. It's not like when we started in 18 doing the streams, there were always most of the names we knew, or narrative we knew. Or nowadays it's too big and really, I feel like we are doing a little bit too shallow overview. So, and I don't like to do shallow things. I like to do quality and really, and I'm interested to research something new. So please, if you want us to cover, bring it on stream and discover it, just come 1 day before Telegram or Discord, drop the names, we will see, and then we'll pick up one coin and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, thanks, Maxim, and appreciate the requests. Just doing a quick check, I did see that Mina, one of the coins being requested, is seeing a pretty positive level of sentiment right now, while Mythos is actually pretty bearish. So between those two, Mythos would probably be the better bet for short-term gains if you had to pick one. But that's just based on sentiment alone. All right. Well, Maxim, thank you for joining today, my friend. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And thanks for all of your wonderful analysis and insights today.
It was a pleasure talking with you. Hope people who joined the stream also enjoyed, learned something, or we can iterate next week and just continue the story as the story evolve.
Absolutely. Everybody, take care. We'll talk to you next week, and be safe out there. Bye-bye.
Yeah, stay safe. Bye-bye.